Good afternoon. My name is Councillor Hannah Fleet, and I'm the Chair of the Education and Skills Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Can I welcome everybody to today's meeting, which is hybrid, in particular those members of the Finance and Resources Overview and Scrutiny Committee who've been invited to attend and to listen to the debate for agenda item 9D, which is to do with additional learning needs, the funding models progress report. The meeting will be live streamed and recorded and will be available for viewing after the meeting. Should the live stream fail, the meeting will continue and a recording will be available through the Council's website following the conclusion of the meeting. Can I remind members that translation facilities are available, and for those attending on Zoom, to choose your language of choice. For those wishing to speak in the chamber, please raise your hand. For those on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. We will alternate as best we can between speakers in the chamber and on Zoom. For those attending remotely, please note that those in the chamber will be unable to use the chat facility. And if possible, Zoom attendees are required to leave their camera on at all times. So moving on to the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence.
Yeah, I've received an apology from co-opted member Colette Owen, and also just to say that Councillor Ros Griffiths-Williams will be joining us at about 3 o'clock.
Item 2. Declarations of interest. So I'm to remind members that they must declare the nature of their declared personal interests. Do we have any? Okay, moving on. Item 3, urgent matters, and I'm not aware of any urgent matters. Okay, so item 4, minutes. Minutes are here for accuracy only, they're not for debate. So firstly, to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 6th of October 2022, which is pages 4 to 7 in your pack. Can I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor Joe. And a seconder, Councillor Gwenel. Thank you very much. Can I have your hands, please? To approve the minutes. Thank you. And to approve the minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of October 2022, pages 8 to 14. Can I have a proposer, please? Thank you, Councillor Gwenel, and a seconder, Anne McCaffrey. Thank you.
No, Chair. I'm sorry, I've got a problem with my my camera this afternoon. I don't seem to be able to put it on, so I wasn't seconding. I wanted just to raise an issue, a couple of things on the minutes.
They are meant to be just for approval only. That's
right, they are, yeah. On page 9, very bottom, second last bullet, it talks about 2034, 2034, 2024. I presume that ought to be 2023, 24.
Yes, thank you very much for pointing that out.
And a second point, which is on page 12. And it's at the top of the of that page. I mean, this was an important debate, and I've no intention of reopening it. And I understand that the minutes must have been quite challenging to summarise, since it was 90 minutes. However, it is important that they are accurate. And the question I've got, or the concern I've got, is my response to officers' comments that a written branch review does not need to cost £100,000 or incur significant cost. So in the minute, there's only one of the points referenced, and that was the fact that I talked to a low-cost option of peer review. So that's fine, that's there. But what's not there is the comment I made about we could be applying for grant funding from Welsh Government. And I'm sure the webcast will show that we talked about that as a funding opportunity to review and evaluate how the funding crisis in schools is affecting delivery of the new curriculum and ALM transformation. So that I really like that point to be reflected within the minutes.
Chair, I don't see a problem with that. I do actually remember that being mentioned by Councillor Anne, so I don't see that a problem being included.
Yeah. And I appreciate, Dawn, there were difficult minutes to summarise, so thanks for that.
Thank you, Anne, for pointing those things out.
Okay.
So we'll get those altered.
Yeah, I'm happy to second on that basis. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much then. So can we have hands to approve the minutes then with those alterations? Thank you very much, they're approved. So item 5 is the minutes of the school budget forum, and this is to note the minutes from the school budget forum held on the 22nd of September 2022. Can I have a proposer, please? Well, I can propose. How was that?
Chair.
Seconder? Oh, Carol, Councillor Carol.
No, I just wanted to come in. I just noticed on the members, it said Ian Gerard, head teacher at School John Bright. He's not at School John Bright, he's Aberconway.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out, please, Councillor Carroll. So we'll fix that. Okay. We'll pass that on. Thank you very much. So on that note, I've lost track now. Did I have a proposer? I proposed it, didn't I? It's not going well, this is it. Councillor Carroll, I asked you to second. Was that correct, or were you indicating that you wanted to comment?
No, I can second. I wasn't there though, if I'm okay to second.
Okay, so we're just noting. So are we happy to note that? I'm gonna, Councillor Anne. Sorry, Councillor Anne, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I'm just proposing, I'm agreeing with the seconding of it.
Thank you very much. Okay, and I'm aware that Anne was there. Okay, so I think anyone that was there has put their hands up. So we're happy with that? Thank you very much. So the next part is item 6, minutes of the Conway Standing Advisory Council on Religious Education. And this is to note the minutes of the Conway Standing Advisory Council on Religious Education held on the 26th of October 2022. Can I have a proposer to note those? You don't need to have been there. Thank you, Councillor Joe. And can I have a seconder? Councillor Tristram. Thank you. And hands, please, that we're happy with that to note those minutes. Thank you very much. Right, item 7. So item 7 is a question to the Cabinet Member for Education from Councillor Paul Lecoq. Councillor Paul, you have 10 minutes to spend on the question, and under the rules of procedure, the question will be put and answered without discussion. Councillor Paul Lecoq, as the member asking the question, may ask one supplementary question without notice, but the supplementary question must be something that has arisen directly out of the original question or the reply. Okay, so Councillor, would you like to give your question? Pop your mic on, please.
Considering the anomaly in funding of junior-only schools in Conway, which the authority has recognised in the past, what can the local authority do now to alleviate the effect of the current funding formula on its junior-only schools?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Thank you, Chair. So the funding formula has derived over the years through full consultation with head teachers and governing bodies. Elements of the funding formula which influence the funding based on key stages. So in the support staff line of the primary formula, there's an additional weighting on infant pupil numbers to reflect the increased needs of supporting pupils of this age, which I'm sure we can all appreciate. The other factors at play in the formula too are because nursery only attend half day, the time therefore that they have is 0.5 weighting, which reduces the FTE and consequently the allocation. I don't intend to go through this in full detail. I have spoken to Paul about this previously, and I think the best way forward, if I put a few options forward, is to engage in a review and consultation regarding the formula. So is there sufficient interest from all stakeholders? If there is, and it's determined that more funding should go to Key Stage 2, I think there are two important questions. Should that come from the existing ISB, therefore coming out of the Key Stage 1 sector, and how do we support that financially? Or is it going to be that it's an additional pressure for funding from the local authority directly? I think what we intend to do next is the local authority going to discuss it with the primary strategic heads. I'm attending that tomorrow. Will it be at tomorrow's that it's raised, or have we got time, Lori, to do that tomorrow?
We need to also discuss it with the school budget forum, so we'll take it to the next available primary strategic head teachers group, and with the proposal that the consultation takes place.
Yeah. So I think then it is something that has been ongoing anyway, but we'll have a specific discussion around this with the primary strategic heads, because of the people that understand the funding formula and the implications that that might have. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Julie. Do you have a supplementary question?
I do. I've got a little bit explaining the context, then the second question. My understanding is there are 5 junior schools potentially adversely affected by the present formula. David will correct me if I'm wrong. And I think this may be for each pupil between £16 and £74 for a full academic year on the formula. So a child may be worth as much as £74 additional if they're in a 3 to 11 school. So all the way through school, foundation all the way through. So children attending junior schools, their learning and teaching is less well protected than children attending 3 to 11 all through schools on the basis of the present formula. So my question to Councillor Julia is, please will you ensure leadership in speeding up the amalgamation of schools to ensure 3 to 11 schools and maybe even 3 to 19 schools in this present severe financial situation?
Councillor Julie?
I don't think that's a question so much as a comment. Obviously, I can't sit here today and say that's something that we will do, because as I'm sure you're aware, Paul, having sat through that yesterday, our financial situation is such that we're going to have to look at what the best possible options are in terms of being able to ensure our schools are sustainable, but also what's most appropriate. I think it was discussed yesterday. You know, we don't know that that's going to be the best quality for children as well to have a through school. It's something I've discussed in the past, but yeah, certainly it will be on the medium term plan. But I think the best approach to take is the one that I've said there, that we'll have that discussion initially with primary strategic heads, take a steer from them, and then look at some form of consultation around this situation. But yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Paul, we've got a consultation with the heads, and also Dr. Lowry pointed out that it will go to school budget forum as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Julie. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so item 8 is to review the forward work programmes, and I've got Dawn Hughes, who's on Zoom, Scrutiny and Committee Services Officer, who's going to present this item.
Thanks, Chair. I haven't really got much to say, actually. Just to say that I am reviewing the forward plan, particularly those items that are under future items. There's quite a few there. So I'm going to be reviewing them with Dr. Lowry to see whether some of them are going to come forward or some of them, are they still relevant? So that's my only update, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dawn. Do we have any questions? Okay, so can I have a proposer for accepting the forward work programme as it is, and Dawn's comments? Thank you, Councillor Grenell. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Joe, thank you. And can we have a show of hands for that, please? Thank you. So item 9A. This is the Ysgol de Ganwy Review, Band B, Sustainable Communities for Learning Programme, the capital programme. And I've got John Davis, the Strategic Manager for Education, Property and Site Management, to present the item. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, Chair. Diolch. De Ganwy was identified as one priority area to be reviewed as part of Conwy's Sustainable Communities for Learning programme. An external cost exercise has already taken place, and the indicative cost for the extension and refurbishment project at Ysgol Deganwy is 5.5 million. The project is eligible for 65% funding from the Welsh Government. Welsh Government have shared that they require actual construction costs before considering project approval via their finance capital panel. The project is necessary due to the shortcomings of the existing provision in Deganwy. Further information regarding this is detailed in the appendix in the agenda pack. The business justification case that has been submitted for information to Welsh Government. However, I do want to share elements of key work that are essential at Ysgol Deganwy. An increase in school capacity from 273 to 313. All classrooms will have outside covered areas in line with the new Welsh curriculum. Smaller classrooms will be enlarged to meet the size set in the Building Bulletin 99 guidelines. Heating and ventilation systems will be replaced. Additional intervention spaces will be provided. Dedicated space for planning, preparation and assessing will be created. Larger school hall will be built with adequate storage space and community access. The original hall was being in place since the original capacity of Ysgol Deganwy was 150 pupils. Issues with the building envelope and damp will be addressed. Old mobile classroom will be removed and additional permanent classrooms provided. Condition score improved to condition score A or B. The backlog maintenance will be eliminated, and the energy performance certificate score will be improved, thus allowing us to have a greener school. The report is not approving the project. It is merely asking to go out to tender in the new year. The tender submissions would then be due back March 2023. Following tender submissions, we would then need to go to Conwy Cabinet and Welsh Government Capital Board for project sign-off for consideration in line with the actual costs that we would then have for the works. Diolch.
Thank you very much. Councillor Julie.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, John, for that update there. I just wanted to let members know I visited the school on Friday. It is in my ward, but I'm not a governor there. Councillor Sam's a governor there. So I visited the school to have an actual walkabout to see where things are up to currently, because this has been a long time in the making for those of you who are newer members. This started back in 2017, really. This was something, so nearly 5 years now that we've been looking at this as a project and sort of began the sort of process of consultation and engaging with the community. So just in terms of the school, so it's actually currently 60 over capacity. So capacity is 273 for Ysgol Deganwy, and they've got 343 pupils there. Now, just back in 2017, because I know obviously we're talking about finances and what's appropriate in terms of funding. So just the reason why I think it's still important that we include this. So in 2017, the backlog maintenance at that point was 385,000. And what's happened is since then, there hasn't been any work that's been undertaken because we knew that this was going to be in the Band B and that had gone through democracy. So there's been no application for some of the grant funding that's come through over the recent years. So the estimation is, having been there on Friday, that's probably around 1 million now in backlog maintenance. So that's something to consider as well. I know, as John has said, we're not making this decision today around the finances. It's purely to let it go out to tender so that we can see where we're up to. But I just wanted you to be aware of the reasoning behind why this is still here. The heating doesn't reach either ends of the school. There are major damp problems, and I've taken photos if anybody wants to see them moving forward. The hall's too small for the number of pupils that we now have in the school, so they have to have 3 sittings at lunchtime, 3 separate sittings to get the kids in. There's cracks in the ceilings all over the place, one of which had water leaking through where a member of staff fell recently. There's a smell of damp in different places there. And what the school has done also is they've approved admission a larger intake because they knew that this was going to happen. So they sort of began to prepare the school in terms of this going through. So and yeah, some of the classrooms are too small unsuitable for young people with a disability, and we have at least one child there who is reliant on a wheelchair, and they won't be able to access the outside play area as they move up to the next key stage. So there are a number of issues around this school, and I appreciate that some other schools have issues too, but this has sort of been allowed to, we've just kind of papered over the cracks whilst we were waiting for this to happen. I mean, there's a whole host of other things, the IT and all sorts of things there in terms of energy saving. I mean, it's pretty much non-existent. So they're the reasons why this is in front of you today, so that it can go out for tender, and then we'll reassess when that comes back and look at what the costings look like and how we can afford it. But I think this needs to happen today so that we can see where we're at, and it's that balance then, isn't it, between how much we would have to pay to try and bring the school up just to a very basic level, as opposed to the opportunity here for the improvements that have been put forward. So just wanted to highlight those points. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Julie. Do I have any other questions? Thank you, Councillor Gareth.
Thanks for letting me speak. I would just like to get some clarification around it. It's obviously, when it's first started in 2018, the world was a very, very different place, and financially it was very different as well. So I'm just wondering as to, is it better to actually delay this and look at it as a whole part of the whole strategy for Conwy? So when we've actually balanced the books and we understand what the educational provision in Conwy, Councillor Paul mentioned the need to merge, or the possible need to merge some schools and things like that. Until we can see the big picture, we don't know, is it going to be big enough? Maybe it needs to be bigger. Maybe it needs to be smaller. We just don't know, because everything seems to be referring to Deganwy, and I accept the need in Deganwy and accept the need that the buildings are really tired and need something doing to them. I just feel that we should be looking at it in the whole, in the current environment, and possibly just sitting on everything until we've actually balanced our budgets. Thank you.
John, would you like to come back on that?
Yeah, gotcha. What this will allow us to do is to have that time between now and March to assess the overall programme, to have that discussion with the Welsh Government. The overall programme for the Sustainable Communities for Learning for Conwy was based on a programme envelope of 43.1 million. Obviously, as you've mentioned, costs along with labour and everything else that's been going on in the world have increased. But what we're likely to do today, obviously, hopefully, is just to approve the report, to go out to tender, to receive the actual costs, and between now and March we can look at the overall programme. We can have further conversations with Welsh Government to see how they are intending to help us within this programme, whether or not there will be an increase envelope, whether or not we'll have to carry out an option appraisal, a priority scheme, and that just by allowing us this will allow us not to perhaps delay this project by 12 months, given that our early indication would be to try and get to a holiday period. Summer holiday would be the ideal opportunity to start preliminary work at Ysgol Deganwy and to set up these structures and what have you in place there. So by not going out to tender, by not receiving the tenders in March and moving forward, could quite possibly delay this project by 12 months.
Yeah, I would just say also there's that credibility bit with the tendering companies, in that we've got to be fairly certain that this is the right project, because there's a huge amount of costs involved and work for them to actually put a tender together for something that may not go forward. And as I said, I don't know, maybe we need a totally bigger school there, depending what the footprint of everything looks like. Anyway.
Councillor Gareth, in the notes, it does actually look at the feasibility of a new build, and it's still it comes out as being the best option, or the preferred option, looks like the one that they are actually proposing. But this is just to get the tender. This is not about spending any money at this point. I understand your point about the credibility, but I'm quite sure anyone that we're going to be tendering to is going to recognise that point as well. Do you want to add anything to that, John?
just as to reiterate, really, Chair, what you've just mentioned, you know, we've had that conversation, we've had that discussions with the school, with our project board, with our programme board, who we report back to on any projects, and we have considered various scenarios, and this has been agreed as the preferred way forward and allows us that additional capacity within Ysgol de Ganwy. You know, tender submissions, we fully intend to push forward with this as a priority project, but of course, yeah, until we have them actual tender costs in, it's difficult to compare and contrast and provide the actual them figures for Cabinet to make that agreement, as well as Welsh Government for their capital panel to approve as well.
Okay, it's my understanding that Welsh Government need those figures before they'll approve the 65%. Okay, thank you. Councillor Dave.
Yeah, I can't see any problem with this going out to tender. If it, you know, if we don't do it now, there's going to be, as we say, another 12 months hold up in this project, and I feel that the best way forward is to go with this, putting it out to tender. Thank you.
Okay, I've got quite a few hands. I'm going to go to Councillor Gronwy, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for allowing me to ask a question, not on this committee. Did I hear Councillor Julie correctly when she said there's currently 343 children in the school? And we're looking at a capacity of 313. We already exceeded that, if I heard correctly.
Yes, there are currently in the school, although moving forward, the projections are that, yeah, that they've included nursery, whereas in the figures I've given you, I've included the nursery, which the school do. But in terms of the figures that the school will be built for, it doesn't include the nursery section because that's not part of the. Do you want to explain it, John?
Yeah, no, that's fine. So the 313 will be actual full-time equivalent, whereas the 343 will be actual pupil numbers, including the nursery. But that nursery will be part of any actual build.
Okay, well, I know the site reasonably well, having visited a few times in the past. It is a confined site, and I'm just mindful of the new Welsh Government curriculum that open spaces are becoming playing more as a significant part of education. Will in a large school allow for the new curriculum with access to more outdoor space? And just finally, as Gareth quite rightly declared, the cost of tendering is quite significant. And, you know, I think we have to be mindful of our reputation if we ask people to tender on something that is unlikely to happen or could be unlikely to happen.
Councillor Julie.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, certainly in terms of the plans, that's one of the really exciting things, is that this will provide open access from every classroom within the school, which is in line with the new curriculum. And that's one of the problems in De Ganwy currently, is that from many classrooms, any child with a disability would struggle to gain access to the outside. And yeah, that's a really exciting part of it. You know, and I thought long and hard, because obviously I understand as well as anybody the financial situation that we're in, but I'm also conscious that the longer we leave things, the bigger that cost will be. And I feel that it's really appropriate for us to find out where we are in terms of the tender. I think it's in good faith, because I believe that that is the way that we'll take moving forward, because when you have the option of additional funding from Welsh Government to make these improvements, that obviously in balance compared to us trying to find funding to just repair some of the backlog maintenance, which doesn't even improve, which we need an awful lot of other work to improve. I think that it's done in good faith, and I believe that we will move forward once we get the tender back. So I'm happy if that's the decision that scrutiny take today.
I had Councillor Cowell next, and then
Yeah,
Councillor Gronwy.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I was going to just second Councillor Dave in the proposal. I think it's much needed for the school and the community, so I'm happy to second that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cowell. Councillor Grenell.
Diolch, Cadeirydd. Oeddwn i'n hefyd yn mynd i eilio
y cynghorydd Dave. Diolch.
Right, do we have any further questions? Did you want to add anything, Councillor Julie? So I have a proposer, I have a seconder. So we are going to vote on the option that Ysgol Deganwy Extension and Refurbishment Project progress to the tender stage, be approved as the agreed options take forward to allow actual costs to be obtained. Can I have people who want to vote in favour of that? 2, 3. Can you, if you're on Zoom, can you keep your hands up? We're trying to count you all. Okay, so we've got 12 in favour. Do we have any votes against? Okay, we've got 1 against. Do we have any abstentions? No, thank you very much. So that's carried with 12 in favour. Thank you very much for your contributions there, John. So item 9B is going to be John again. So it's the final determination of the closure of Ysgol Llanefydd, and John Davis, Strategic Manager for Education, Property and Site Management, to present this item.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that's regarding with the Ysgol Llanefydd process. It's a very sensitive matter, a school closure. And I'd like to thank everybody in the community, the staff and the governors thus far that have been involved with the process for their contribution. With the completion of the required formal statutory process, a decision is sought from Conwy Cabinet through this report determining the closure of Ysgol Llanefydd. Details were presented previously to Cabinet in the report dated 12th of July 2022, where approval was given by Cabinet to proceed with issuing the statutory notice to close Ysgol Llanefydd. The statutory notice was published on the 5th of September 2022 through a hard copy, email link and on the Conwy's education web pages. The publication of the notice instigated a 28-day formal objection period. The statutory notice clearly stated the intentions and timeframe of the proposal and sets out any formal objections, how any formal objections should be made to the local authority. 44 responses were received and have been summarised in the attached report in the appendices, along with responses from Estyn and a joint response from the governing body of Ysgol Llanefydd and Llanefydd Community Council. There are currently no pupils at Ysgol Llanefydd, and if Conwy Cabinet agreed to the closure of the school would officially close on the 31st of December 2022. Diolch.
Thank you very much. So do we have any questions? John? Okay, having seen some of the comments that people, oh, I'm very sorry, Councillor Tristram.
Diolch yn fawr, Madam Cadeirydd. Dwi'n ymddiheuro am y llais, mae gen i chydig bach o anwyd os newch chi faddau mi. Dyma un o'r pethau anodda dwi wedi gorfod bod yn rhan ono fo fel cynghorydd sir, sef y broses yma o gael ysgol mewn ardal sydd yn gry ac yn gadarn o ran yr iaith Gymraeg. Ac mae yna elfennau o'r ymgynghoriad yma, dwi'n siŵr y cytunwch chi'n eitha damniol, a mae yna 2 gwestiwn yn dod, ac nes i rhyw awgrymu'r rhain mis Gorffennaf pan oedden ni yn trafod. Hynny yw yr rôl, a ydych chi'n gweld, dwi'n meddwl tudalen 125, dwi'n meddwl, y rôl a berthynas rhwng y sir a'r llywodraethwyr, achos mae'r ysgol wedi bod yn ffodus iawn o'i llywodraethwyr, mae'n 2 sydd wedi bod yn beneithiad ysgol, a rai mi dal y teyrnged i'r llywodraethwyr. Mae Rhys, y cadeirydd, wedi bod yn ddoeth ac yn bwyllog i arweiniad yn ogystal. Ond wrth i'r broses yma fynd rhagddi, dwi'n meddwl bod yna wersi yn sicr i'w dysgu gan y sir. Be sydd chi gofio yn Llanefydd ydy, dim cwestiwn nad oes yna blant yna, plant sydd wedi mynd. A felly mae yna gwestiwn elfennol yn codi pam bod y plant wedi mynd, pam bod yr rhieni wedi dewis symud i plant, mwyafrif ohonyn ohonyn nhw, os ga i ddeud, wedi mynd i sir arall i mynd i sir Ddimbech. Wedyn, siawns pan oedd, dwi'n gwybod bod Covid wedi chwarae rhan, ond dyle bod yna glychen canu'n rwle pan oedd yr rhieni cynta yn dewis gadael yr ysgol a symud i plant i rwle arall. A ydych chi'n gweld dwi'n meddwl at y dalan, 126, ydych chi'n gweld yn fan hyn sylwadau gan y llywodraethwyr. Pa gamau gymerodd yr awdurdod addysg i osgoi cau'r ysgol, beth fydd ymateb awdurdod addysg Sir Coni bob tro rhieni'n symud i plant, pa ystyriaethau ffederaleiddio. Wel, fe fynwyd y cwestiwn yna mewn cyfarfod ar y cyd rhwng y llywodraethwyr a'r sir, a'r ateb ddywedwyd oedd dyn ni wedi cynnig ffederaleiddio na'r ateb yn ôl gen y llywodraethwyr. Dyn ni'n mynd i cael y fath beth. Wedyn, chybod, mae o i mi fel cynghorydd sir a cynghorydd sir newydd yn yr ardal, dwi'n mynd ei llai, mae yna gwestiynau sydd i'w gofyn ynglyn â'r broses. Yn ôl y llywodraethwyr, maen nhw wedi gofyn a gofyn am help, maen nhw wedi gofyn i'r sir, wedi tynnu sylw'r sir dro ar ôl tro bod ne blant yn gadael wneith y sir gannu mewn. Ac yn ôl y llywodraethwyr, a dwi'n gwybod tasen nhw yma, mi fasen nhw yn ailadrodd beth dwi'n ddeud. Achos da chi'n bod mae o'n benderfyniad aruthrol i gymuned fel Llanefydd. Chi'n bod mae'n tynnu, fel dwi wedi roed yn y sylwadau, mae'n tynnu calon allan o'r gymuned. Ac mewn amgylchiadau gwledig, chi'n bod Llanwathrau sy'n mewn ysgolion, chi'n bod mae yna dip yn dod, mae yna chwaneg o blant yn dod, dydy'r broses mae bobl yn priodi ac yn cydfyw ac yn cael plant, ac mae yna broses yn Llanwathrau. Beth petai yna lanw yn dod yn Llanefydd eto? Wel, wrth gwrs, mae'r plant yna i gyd yn mynd i adael i Twmor Nant neu Ysgol Henllan, rhain yn nhw i Ysgol Bro Aled sef fewn y sir, mwyafrif ohonyn nhw i sir Ddimbech. Wedyn, dwi'n meddwl y cwestiwn cyntaf ydy bod rhaid i ni edrych ar y berthynas rhwng y sir a'r llywodraethwyr a'r ysgol. A'r ail beth ydy, fel ydych chi'n gweld yn yr ymgynghoriad, poendod a'r cwestiwn rwan ydy beth sy'n mynd i ddigwydd i'r safle. A dwi'n gwybod i hwn ddim yn uniongyrchol yn ymwneud efo'r pwyllgor yma, ond dwi'n meddwl bod yna werth tynnu sylw at y ffaith bod yna wir awydd creu yr ysgol yn hwb cymunedol, a dwi'n gobeithio wneith y sir wneud popeth o fewn i gallu i sicrhau hynny, achos dyna mae'r gymuned yn galw amdano fo, a dwi'n gobeithio wneith y sir fynd allan o'i ffordd i roi rhywbeth yn ôl i'r gymuned sydd wedi colli hysgol. Diolch yn fawr, Cadeirydd.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Do we have any other comments? Councillor Julie.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Tristan, for your words. It is sad. It's sad when any school closes, isn't it? And this is something that happened naturally within the community because parents made the choice. I think as the numbers reduced, they decided that they wanted to have continuity, I suppose, and move them. But numerous things were tried. I went up there and met with the governors as well over the time, and it was a lovely school, or it has been a really lovely school, and I appreciate it's really part of the community. Apologies, let me just turn that off. I can hear myself echoing in my ear. Yeah, but we did work closely, and I know that the team have worked incredibly closely. I know that GWER have, and I think really now what we need to concentrate on is what happens moving forward. And I know I've spoken to you about this, Tristan, haven't I? That we work with the community to ensure that it's something that's appropriate for the community and something that's sustainable for the community as well. And I think going forward, you know, part of the discussions that we're having around schools, part of that will be us working closely with schools that perhaps are the smaller schools and looking at what options are best for them in order to protect them and to protect that community and protect the Welsh language as well. So I think that's something we need to be conscious of, that bigger picture, when we're making decisions around funding and how we look at class sizes, look at school sizes going forward. I think they're the kind of lessons we can learn through this. But certainly from my perspective and from the work that I've seen officers do, I know that there was a lot of interaction with the school I think sometimes things just get to a point where it's incredibly difficult to be able to change that ship once it's headed in a certain direction. But I know that those conversations are being had with other schools, but I think us as members, we need to be conscious of that going forward when we talk about making savings and how we can do things in a way that's most appropriate for schools. It's a shame really that COVID did happen, because I know when I went up there was talk of them starting to work with other schools, certainly around PE was going to happen at Pwyllgor, was it? No. Llansannan. So there were different things that we were trying, but then COVID came along, and I think it probably did have an impact on it. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight the fact that I think these are the things that we need to be conscious of when we're making decisions moving forward. There isn't really a decision today because parents have made that decision for us by moving their children from the school. But I think now we need to concentrate on what that facility can be used for. And yeah, I don't want to preach as to what it should be, but I know that there's obviously already a community facility there. So whether affordable housing might be an option, I think it's something that works for the community is important. So, and I'm happy to support that and work with Tristan and the community on what they feel is most appropriate. And it's sad, and I appreciate it. It's sad. It's sad when a school, you know, I grew up in a little village where the school was absolutely the heart of the village, but yeah, I think this decision was kind of taken out of our hands really. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Julie. Councillor Joe.
Sorry, Chair, we can't seem to hear Councillor Joe on Zoom.
Thank you. Are there sufficient
better.
spaces going forward for the foreseeable future for the children that have gone elsewhere? Are there room in those schools for them for the foreseeable?
John?
Yeah, in short, yes, but John's got further details.
No, sorry. Yes, there are, and the details of them are in the report in various catchment schools outside of Llanefydd. Iawn, diolch.
John. Councillor Gwennell.
Fyswn i'n licio mynd o'r cyfarfod yma heddiw ac wedi codi'n llaw I gytuno I gais Sgol Llanefydd heb mod I yn deud, chi'n gwybod, dwi'n cydymdeimlo'n fawr iawn hefo trigolion Llanefydd bod hyn yn gorfod digwydd. Mae 'na wersi i'w dysgu'r dyfodol. Dydw I'm yn hoffi be glywes I gen cynghorydd Julie'n deud mae'r rhieni ddewisiodd. Mae hynny fel beio rhieni am gair ysgol. Yn y dyfodol, swn i'n credu ar unrhyw un sy'n medru, os ydych chi'n gweld y patrwm yn digwydd mewn ardal arall, bod ni yn ymyrryd yn syth a gofyn pam ydych chi'n symud. Chi'n gwybod, weithiau mae rhaid I rieni wneud penderfyniadau sydd gorau i'w plant, ond i'w beio nhw wedyn am fod yr ysgol 'di cau, dwi'n meddwl bod hynny chydig bach yn anheg. Felly, I drigolion Llanefydd wybod mai efo calon drom iawn y bydda i'n gorfod codi'n llaw heddiw I gytuno chi'n bod rhaid cau'r ysgol. Diolch.
Thank you, Councillor Gwennell. Anyone else? Councillor John. Sorry, Paul, where John came from. Councillor Paul.
Thank you. I've got a little bit of knowledge about this because I did my postgraduate research in the closure of small schools. What Tristan said was powerful, and I think we need to look at this again. And I think it's true not just of our small village schools, but I think also generally the impact of parental preference. I support the legislation that allows people to have parental preference and their choice of attempting to get into whichever school they want. I have no problem about that at all. But if we're not alert to this early on, and this is what my research some years ago indicated, was that the communities that enable their smaller schools to survive are the communities that are alerted very early of the changes that are happening. And I've had correspondence with Larry about the situation of our secondary school, Emrys ap Iwan in Abergele, on exactly that basis. We can see trends where parents are choosing to bus their children out of a town, and that is that's the consequence of their preference, and I have no problem with that. But we would be in a real problem if it wasn't for, again, the transfer, the migration of pupils from Denbighshire into that school. And in this case, in Llanefydd, we've got migration the other way. So I think we need to be very alert very quickly to this, and maybe a piece of work needs to be done, almost starting today, on the implications of the decisions that parents are taking now about which catchment areas they go to and the movement. Because if we're not alert to it, with the information that we have on the lower numbers anyway, I think the figures I saw going forward were anticipating maybe as across the county, less children in our schools. We're going to find ourselves just firefighting this system over the piece. In terms of Tristan's other point, which I think was very important in terms of ensuring a community hub, again, I think there are options there, because in Abergele, we did manage through our place plan to gain money from Welsh Government, substantial money, 500,000 for Green Gelly. And as part of that, there was funding for a community hub. It's not being, there wasn't sufficient money to do our preferred community hub, which was our sports pavilion in Pentramal Park. But we, hopefully, with the money we did get, we will be able to establish a community hub in our Pentramal Park. So in a sense, just to be supportive to Tristan, it's maybe an option that the community council can look into in order to get a line of funding from Welsh Government to assist you in what you propose. So I don't know if that's a positive, but trying to put a positive on a very difficult situation.
Thank you. Councillor Goronwy.
Yeah, thank you again for allowing me to speak. It is a difficult position, and one I've been through twice in my ward. So I don't envy the officer's position one iota, because they do have to bring these decisions before us based on very often the finances of the situation. And once you start the process, there is this almost cancerous effect that parents think, well, there's no future for the school. We have to look to the future and look elsewhere. So it is a process that we are driven to go through by the restraints of the finances that were handed down by government. It was only last year or the year before, the Welsh Government Minister at the time said that she wanted to keep rural schools open and there would be additional funding. Of course, ministers come and go and policies change. So, but there is a damaging effect on a community. I've seen it in both Rowan and fortunately in Talabont, it's not been so severe because the closure of one school meant that they moved only about half a mile down the road. So that hasn't been quite as damaging. But the effect I've seen in my own village is that the village school that remains is then overswamped with pupil numbers. Henry School now, Llangollen School, has to accommodate children that's well over its capacity because parents choose to have their children educated in a homely country environment, which means that the village of Henry is suffering with the extra traffic that comes through a very small village. So there are consequences, but unfortunately, I think our officers are in a very difficult position, and the whole process is a disjointed process that we have to go through. Because as I said, parents choose very early that if they think a school is going well, they think, right, we'll go before it's too late. Unfortunate position we're in.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gawonwi. Do we have any further comments or questions? So, having read the report, I was quite touched by some of the memories people have of the school. So obviously it is something that is very sad. But we're going to move on to our proposal. So the proposal is that Cabinet gives authorisation for Education Services and Legal Services officers to formally close Ysgol Llanelli from the 31st of December 2022. Can I have a proposer, please? Well, I'm going to propose for the purpose of this. Do we have a seconder? Oh, sorry, Chris Brockley. Thank you. It's very hard for me to see over there. So we've got a proposer, we've got a seconder. Can I take a vote, please? Okay. 11, I've seen Councillor Batella's hand moved. Sorry, can you put your hands up again, please? Some of the Zoom ones are a bit hard to catch in time. Okay, any against? Or one on Zoom. Okay, one against. Any abstentions? Got one abstention. Thank you very much. So that proposal has been carried. So item 9C is a social inclusion service update. We've got Hannah Morris, the social inclusion service manager, who's going to present this item. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you. Before I start on the report, I wanted just to give a backdrop, and I think it's worth recognising that the staff in Canolfan Addysg Conway, the local authority PRU, have akin to our schools across Conway, faced a great deal of challenge from learners in the changes that we all are aware of with regards to the changings of learner profiles post-COVID. And I think ahead of going through the updates within this report, I'd like members to be aware that the team have continued to provide what is a very enhanced service to meet these needs of learners, and it continued with the changes, and for that they should be commended. Going on to the report itself.
Hannah, could you just move the mic? I'm not sure that everyone can hear you as loudly as we'd like to.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. In terms of the report itself then, Conway Social Inclusion Service provides advice and provision for all Conway children and schools for learners with social and emotional behavioural difficulties. For this report, the report will focus on the service itself and the advice and guidance, and the provision through Canolfan Addysg Conway, the local authority pupil referral unit. The service has gone through substantial change since the report commissioned in 2017 and work commenced in 2018. The report in the early sections details the project, the stages the service and the local authority have gone through in order for that change to take place. I'd like to bring members' attention to the progress that has taken place this academic year in 2021, sorry, the previous academic year in 2021 to 22, and where the service is heading for 2022 and 2023. 2021-2022 academic year saw the real impact of COVID taking place for our learner population and the changing needs of across schools and demands placed on them. The level of advice and requests for places hit an increased level and the highest the service has seen to date. Of most affected is the areas in relation to home tuition, which is the provision the service provides for learners who have a long-standing illness which will take over 4 weeks. And in this area, the majority of learners faced severe anxiety-based difficulties. The service has amended their placements in order to provide reintegration plans for those learners to see them move forward through their illness to reintegrate into school settings. We will continue to reflect this within our provision areas and make sure that we have placements to meet the mental health needs that are arising within our learners. Across Conway, to meet this demand, the service has continued to offer training, advice and guidance. The report notes the areas of training we have delivered this year, and members will see that it's quite diverse, from more punitive measures such as searching for weapons and physical intervention and restraint, through to more social and emotional and behavioural support mechanisms to support the growth of better emotional health and well-being. Sat alongside this, the service has continued to work with the secondary provisions through the social inclusion service leads to develop policy and practice that takes place across Conway schools. This area of development is a real pleasing area of development for not only Conway schools, but the service as a whole. All policies developed here are embedded across the secondary provision to ensure that Conway learners access in relation to varying areas of social inclusion in an equal way. Again, you will see within this area, there's been very specific service development to meet the rise of the large increase in young expectant mothers, physical intervention, and education other than at school. Our learners in 2021 and 2022, our school councils are fully active part of the setting. And I know for most schools, this has been an embedded process, but within the PRU, this is a real step forward for seeing learners and their voice in a real creative manner. Learners' safety and well-being is reported to be well, and most importantly, the learners on the whole report to feel safe and well within our setting. We, of course, have also had a visit from our colleagues in Eston in February 2022. Conway PRU was the first PRU to be inspected under the new framework. Members may wish to go through the report. It is a lengthy one, so I will not go through it in depth right now. But the report and the inspection process itself were really pleasing for Canolfan Addysg Conway. Not only did they mark the part of our journey to progress to create better learning environments for learners in Conway, but they also highlighted key areas of practice that we do well. These were noted in relation to being the well-being of staff and the well-being of learners and how we manage that, our teaching assistant support, and also the links and the management structure with the local authority. Of course, there was a set of recommendations. No inspection is an inspection without them, and these are now incorporated within our school development plan for 2022 and 2023. This academic year then, the service will strive to continue to develop and build on the platform that we've seen in order to get to a sector leading level. This year, the three priorities which sit outside of our school development plan are for the provision of bilingual PRU provision. We have the pleasure of hosting a Key Stage 3 pilot in conjunction with the Ysgol y Creiddyn and the Ysgol Dyffryn Conway. There is no blueprint for Welsh medium provision in PRUs across Wales, so we are very much leading the way in trying to establish what I believe to be a very necessary part of the PRU development. The pilot this year will be subsequently followed by an additional pilot next year in the hope that we can embed this practice long term and then be one of the first PRUs in Wales to offer truly bilingual provision across the key stages. The second area of development is our foundation phase. Our learners at the youngest level have joined us this year at Key Stage 2. The foundation phase resource base, previously located at Ysgol Dyffryn, has been temporarily located at our Key Stage 2 site on the Orme. Members will be aware that this is currently due for consultation into the long-term arrangements for this. So the place is with us on a temporary measure pending the outcome of formal consultation. We very much hope to welcome the learners from the foundation phase into Canolfan Addysg Conwy for the future, to ensure that all learner provision across Conwy is under the one heading of Canolfan Addysg Conwy, managed by one head and forms one direction of movement across Conwy schools. No report about a service would be complete, of course, without touching on the financial aspects. This area of progress is one of the key areas that remains outstanding for the completion of the development of the service. Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4, our secondary provision, is still under a 2-year service level agreement. This creates a level of uncertainty for the PRU and leaves the local authority in a position of vulnerability in the event that all schools buy out or do not purchase into an SLA in Key Stage 3 and 4. We are therefore currently consulting on 2 financial options to take the service forward. Option 1, the withdrawal of delegation and for funding to be centrally retained by the local authority. This would match what is currently held in Key Stage 2 and the foundation phase. Option 2 is to continue with a service level agreement on a 3-year cycle, where a school opts to buy out or doesn't purchase into the Canolfan Addysg Conwy, a central amount of money would be retained. So a percentage of that SLA would be centrally retained, so that in the event that all schools did not buy in, the local authority would still be able to meet their statutory duty and provide for children in Conwy. I hope members agree that from where we started off at in 2017 with the report from Leighton and moving to a project, this is substantial progress for a PRU, and we continue to make those strides with the clear vision that we will provide sector leading provision for the children in Conwy, and that being in a PRU does not mean a second-rate education, and these children will have the very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hannah. There's lots of detail there, and congratulations on the Estin report. And I like the fact that wellbeing came out as one of your strengths, and that where they have made recommendations, I believe these were all things that you were already aware of in your development plan.
Yes, that's true.
Very successful. Thank you. Councillor Tuley.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Hannah, for the report. Just wanted to sort of give my thoughts, I guess, on the journey that we've been on as part of the PRU. So I certainly some years ago had concerns around the way the PRU was, the way that schools were perhaps interacting with the provision. And I've seen, since Hannah's been appointed, and she won't say this about herself, but the massive progress that's been made. The feedback from schools is absolutely fantastic. The support that's there, and then from Gwyn, the head teacher of the PRU as well, after he was appointed. I've spent some time, so earlier this year, I think I've lost the time frame because of COVID. I think some of last year and earlier this year, I've spent a day in each of the areas of the PRU, just to get a feel for how things were going, and what's happened, the changes that have been made. And I can't tell you how impressed I was with the work that's happening up there, with the feel when you walk in the place, the staff, the pupils, you know, it's just a really positive place to be, which I guess I'm guilty of probably thinking, certainly when I was younger, that the PRU was somewhere where people perhaps misbehaved or whatever that may be. It was really pleasing to see. I saw some of the work that the young people had been working on, and it was just fantastic. And some of the younger key stage work, the what's it called, the woods, the play area, the forest school, that's it, the forest school, fantastic. I went up to a drag up on the Orme, and some of the young kids had big sticks and everything, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, but they'd learned to play through the forest school in a way that was just really appropriate, really supporting, and it was really pleasing to see, and everyone was so invested, staff were so invested. So I just kind of wanted to give that. And then looking at the summary of the responses, I think that comes through in there, to see that 100% of the kids say that they feel safe in the PRU. they either agree or strongly agree, that they have someone to talk to if they're worried, that the PRU teaches me how to keep healthy, and that teachers help me to learn and make progress, and help me when I have problems. I think it's just really positive that 100% of the kids are agreeing or strongly agreeing that that's what the provision is there for, and that's in large part to the work that Hannah's put in over the years, and to all the team that are repping the PRU. And it's obviously, you've seen the Estin report, the fact that they've highlighted a number of areas of good practice is just, it's really positive. And that interaction with schools, that they're working towards those young people not just going up to the PRU and staying up there, but for them to go to the PRU and to come back into their mainstream school. It's just really positive, and it's in a really good place. So I'm glad that new members in particular get an opportunity to see this today. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Julie. Any other comments? Councillor Paul.
It's good that this committee invited, which I'm not a member of, invited members of the Finance and Resources Overview and Scrutiny Committee here today. So thank you for that. Thank you for the presentation, and it's really good news about the Estin report as well. So that's very positive. And this is something really quite close to my heart in terms of these youngsters being helped and supported in this way. I want to focus on page 165 and 166, paragraphs 61, 62 and 63. This is the section on resource implications, and I understand this report may have been written before the November the 8th cabinet decision, though at the end of your report, I think you indicated some additional information about possible routes going forward in terms of funding that you're keeping under active review. Did I hear that right? And there were two options.
Yes, we're currently in consultation. We've completed consultation with secondary heads, and we remain to go out to staff and associated unions.
So within that, I'm presuming, tell me if I'm wrong, the 10% cut in funding and its implications has not yet been assessed in terms of these resource implications going forward. And I know it's very difficult to deal with that today, because as you say, schools will have a say in this in terms of what they choose to do. So it's not all in your power. I fully understand that. But obviously, the thing that concerns me most, and we've been discussing it over the last couple of weeks, the implications of these 10% cuts. And obviously for this group of children and young people, we need to get this particularly right. And there certainly will need to be a further equality impact assessment, because of, quite rightly, we may be subject to legal challenge for judicial review or whatever. So we need to get this rigorously right. But there are some very significant implications with that level of reduction in resources in the next financial year. So I know it's early days, and I know you're working on this now, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but all I suppose I'm seeking is some reassurance about that, and particularly in relation to the children there, that we will further review how this will impact on them. It will impact on them, but how far it will impact on them.
I can answer that if you'd like me to. As you say, I know this process is not complete, but I think we can answer on two lines in relation to the budgetary question there. the line in terms of the amount that service level agreement costs schools and the amount we charge for pupil referral unit is directly linked to the amount that goes into the school's budget. So if that school's budget decreases on that line, the SLA would decrease. It's a swap. In essence, what we put in the budget for Key Stage 3 provision, which is specifically labelled in that way, and Key Stage 4 provision comes back to us in direct form in that SLA. So there's no additionality. What the school receives for that provision is what they're expected to produce for that provision, either by us or through an SLA. What I think is very important that sits around that, because that's provision, that's physically a bum on seat in a PRU. And this whole model doesn't sit on just a bum on a seat out of the way. How the service has succeeded is that it has used provision alongside the ethos of social inclusion and inclusion development. The position of the social inclusion service manager, the SLT within the PRU, form part of that. They're not part of a budgetary cut. They're a physical person providing advice, support and guidance, and very much working with those people in schools to provide that. So the cut doesn't cut the level of support and advice and training and structures that are in place. And actually the service has developed to a level where that development and change runs on a self-regulatory basis. It's certainly in secondary with the inclusion needs group. So actually going forward, you're talking about the impact on learners. That support and structure is in place and has been one of the cornerstones of how we've set the service up, so that it is not purely a bum on a seat in a PRU. It is a wholesale envisionality of social inclusion and inclusion for learners in Conway.
So does that mean that the same number of pupil students will be able to attend?
Yes. We will reduce the cost internally if we need to. We factor in, this is the number of learners we planned for, and it's the number of the learners we regularly receive from Conway schools. That's based on the number of people that currently buy in at this rate. Of course, if a school opts not to buy in, they would be providing that provision themselves, wouldn't they? So the numbers would reduce. Yeah. And that's part of the SLA. Schools can have that in Key Stage 3 and 4 at present. The difference we are looking at is a long-term solution and planning. At present, they can opt in or opt out on a 2-year basis. The local authority and learners in school need a longer term plan than 2 years, which is why we've moved to either 3 or the withdrawal of delegation as the 2 options to be presented financially.
And the end of this first 2-year period, when does that come in to effect? I mean, what I suppose I'm saying is, could some schools withdraw from April 2023?
Yes.
Right. So at April 2023, some schools may withdraw, and in that context, there may be less capacity within the school.
They would be expected to provide, wouldn't they? So they have a financial amount in their budget. They can either opt to give that to myself to provide for those learners through Carnarvon Addysg Conway, or it falls within the budget of the school to provide for those learners. That's the situation we're currently in, isn't it? And we do have a school that does that in the local authority at Key Stage 3 and 4.
Right, thank you. So all the other schools do buy in?
They do.
Yeah. Thank you.
And just to add, because I think it's important that members are aware, at Key Stage 2, it was a unanimous decision from primary schools to have that money centrally retained.
Thank you for, I'm sorry to drill down a bit. I just wanted to understand it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for that very detailed explanation. And it's not just bums on seats in the PRU, it's those that are being taught at home as well. isn't it? So and there's provision, I believe, within schools and children that might be in the poo and then go back and will need continued support.
Yeah, we shouldn't forget the additional amount for social inclusion that all secondary schools receive to run their on-site inclusion centre as part of a staged approach to step up from universal provision. So yes, it's a wider spectrum, but for the purpose of our discussion here, it's the service level agreement at Key Stage 3 and 4.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Dave with a hand up.
Hiya, thanks, Chair. Very, very good report, Hannah. Very positive, and the Eston report, brilliant. Read through it, fantastic. As a grandfather, I've got a grandson myself with autism, and seeing my daughter's struggles for services. You know, again, this is in this area. This is very positive. They live in England, so that's a problem over there. Also, from the days of my kids going to school in Conway, and my own learning problems as a child in Conway, the difference this must make for our children, young people, is absolutely brilliant. And I would wholly support the option 1, withdrawal of delegation. So basically, you know, these services, we can control them centrally, more continuity for the schools, and you know, we can reach all these children and young people as best we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Dave. So we're not actually debating or actually voting on options at this stage, because that's gone out to consultation. You're still within the consultation process, aren't you? But thank you very much for your contribution there. I presume we will form part of the consultation process. Yes. Okay, so hold that thought. We're here to note and to take note of the report, and to thank Hannah for her very detailed information that she's just shared with us, and to congratulate, I would like to congratulate us, the team as well. So we're here to note the progress made within social inclusion. So can I have a proposer for the recommendation that members of the Education Skills Overview and Scrutiny Committee note the progress made within social inclusion? And I have Councillor Tristram, whose hand was straight up there. Thank you very much for proposing that. And I can see, oh, it's a tie between Dave and Dilwyn. I'm going to give it to Dave because I can see him more clearly. All right, so as a seconder. So can we have hands up, please, if we're happy to note this report? Thank you. I think that's unanimous with all the members. Thank you very much then. Thank you, Hannah, again. So the next item on our agenda is item 9D, and this is the Additional Learning Needs Funding Models Progress Reports. We've had quite a lot of information in the past and reports on the ALN and how it's been changing, how the service has changed. So this is a report on progress. And we have Catherine Webster from the ALN Service Manager, and the Principal Education Psychologist to present this report. Thank you, Catherine.
Afternoon. So this is quite a brief interim update report on the progress since the ALN funding consultation and the implementation of the recommendations from back in November 2021. So for most of the service areas that we'll be talking about today, we implemented those changes from the 1st of April of this year. So we're only looking at a term and a half really in terms of implementation. So it's quite a brief update today in things that have happened since that stage. And on the next steps now in terms of reviewing progress, but you will receive a more detailed report in respect of the impact of those changes and evaluation of service delivery as part of our new duty to keep all ALN and additional learning provision under review. And that will be coming then
over the next 12 months when we've completed that new statutory review for the first time this year. So on the 9th of November 2021, Cabinet resolved that the following models of funding distribution be implemented with effect from the 1st of April 2022. The first was in respect of the Educational Psychology and Inclusion Service, and the resolution there was that delegation for that service area would be withdrawn in full and retained centrally for the local authority to provide those services on a needs-led basis. For the Learning Support Service, which is our specialist teacher service for children and young people with dyslexia, the resolution was that for the primary sector, that delegation would be withdrawn in full and retained centrally, but for the secondary sector, it would continue to be delegated, but with the option of a 3-year service level agreement to be offered by the local authority in the first instance, because we had 2 of our secondary schools that wanted a lead-in period to them being able to develop their own in-house provision. For our autism outreach service, similarly, the resolution was for withdrawal of delegation in full for that service area and for the funding to be retained centrally. And for the secondary sector, all of our secondary schools felt that they were in a position to use that funding within house to meet their own changing need within their own resources and the organisation of their provision within their own schools. For additional learning needs teaching assistants, the resolution that money would continue to be fully delegated to schools, but there would be the cessation of our service level agreement with the local authority, and the schools would move to providing that within house, using the delegation themselves to coordinate that provision themselves. And then Carnarvon Addysg Adraig, which you've already had an update from Hannah as part of her report. The resolution there was withdrawal of the delegated funding in full, and for that funding to be retained centrally to deliver that service. And as Hannah said, that was a unanimous consultation, feedback and recommendation from the primary sector. So looking at each of those different areas then now and where we are up to since April of this year, we have been able to, in respect of educational psychology and our inclusion service, what that has enabled us to do or start to do over this first term and a half has enabled us to concentrate on now delivering equitable provision across all of our Conway schools in respect of Welsh Government's commencement orders and the priority to transfer learners in mandated year groups from the old SEN system to the new ALN system. So that's involved both the transfer of learners for whom we as a local authority retain responsibility, and for schools who and support for schools in respect to the learners for whom they have responsibility. So our inclusion teacher service or that team as part of this service area are taking the lead on the statutory responsibility there in terms of both being designated officers for the children for whom we have responsibility as a local authority, and also providing the advice and support for schools in terms of their statutory duties in the transfer. In respect of the educational psychology element of that team, there is a statutory duty for us to seek educational psychology advice for all local authority considerations, and there is also a duty on schools to consider whether it's appropriate to request educational psychology advice for all of their considerations and transfers. So there's a significant amount of statutory work that needs to be undertaken this year, and next year we're looking at there will be twice the numbers of children that we're transferring this year in the next academic year. So the focus of this service will be predominantly on that for the next this year and the following year. But in addition to that, we've also been able to focus and across now all Conway schools on other non-statutory but identified preventative work that has been arisen in response to current need and the challenges for our learners with additional learning needs across Conway. So this includes, but it's not limited to, the extension of our ELSA support and projects, so emotional literacy support assistance. So our educational psychology service provides the training and supervision for all of our emotional literacy support assistants across Conway schools, and most of our schools now have signed up for that as an intervention in a project, and so there's a big supervision commitment there in terms of supervising those staff across the authority. Then we also have our EBSA project, which has been particularly relevant post COVID. So looking at emotionally based school avoidance and the evidence base and research about how we support children who are not attending or are at risk of not attending as a result of emotionally based reasons, emotionally based, that the context of returning to school after what's been a particularly challenging time for a number of learners. So that is an offer which is available across all of our Conway primary and secondary schools, and we'll continue to work on that over the coming years until such a point that we feel that particular challenge has been fully addressed and it's well embedded in schools. We're also looking in response to identified need and increased requests for support and advice provision. We are undertaking a research project in collaboration with children and young people with autism in respect to their experiences of education and inclusion. And the reason we're doing that specifically and in collaboration with children and young people is that when we looked into that, there was very little, if no, research that had been undertaken solely with children and young people and taking into account their voices and perspectives. All of the research that's available currently looks at the views of families, parents and schools. So we're hoping that is something that will really help inform our practice and support moving forward. So then moving on to the learning support service. What the resolution and the changes from April have enabled us to do since that time, as it's for us now for the local authority central service for primary schools. It's enabled us again to provide an equitable offer for all schools, but it's also enabled us now to look at how we develop that service in response to the most recent evidence base and research in supporting children with specific learning difficulties, and also to realise our earlier aspiration to extend that specialism beyond specific literacy difficulties to other specific learning difficulties, for example, dyscalculia, and how we then offer a specialist service in respect of that wider remit. It's enabled Conway secondary schools to develop their own in-house provision in a way that's more responsive to their own constantly changing profile of needs, and again in a way that's evidence-based and then embedded across school practice, appropriate to the age and developmental stage of their learners. And we're working with Conway secondary schools to develop now how we most effectively evaluate those two different models of service provisions that will input into our ALN review, and also ensure that we are looking at both and making sure that both are effective ways of using that funding, that we are seeing true impact on our learners, on outcomes for those learners, and also then learning from each other's good practice in respect of how those different schools are responding to the need, and where we see the greatest impact we will then try to replicate that across both different other secondary schools, but also the two different sectors. So the autism outreach service, similarly, in terms of the primary sector, it's enabled us as a local authority to work on developing that equitable offer, and again looking at what the most recent evidence base is in terms of impact for this group of learners, and particularly what it's enabled us to do then is develop a rolling programme of evidence-based training for schools and families. So specifically what we're looking at the minute is the National Autistic Society's Early Bird programme, which involves a programme of training for both the parents of children and young people with autism and school representatives, so that it's a shared training experience, and develops the ethos of it is that it develops a shared understanding and consistent approach to meeting the needs of those learners. Similarly, it's enabled the secondary schools then to develop their own in-house provision in a way that's responsive to their changing profile of needs. And again, we're working with schools to develop that evaluation model to make sure that what we are reporting to you in terms of the ALN review is showing that each of those the impact of working in these ways for those learners, and where it's most effective, that we replicate that then across different settings. And then finally, the additional learning needs teaching assistance, what the changes have enabled us to do. And this is an even more recent update, because in fact the change was only implemented on the 1st of September of this term, in response to the consultation lead in with staff that had to be started on the 1st of September on the 1st of April. So it's a new update in that we've only had half a term of implementation of that resolution. But what it has enabled us to do, and for schools to do, is to be able to start developing this area of provision in a way that's responsive to their individual school need and profiles, and that hopefully then will improve on and strengthen the interventions and support provided to children, young people, their families and schools at a school ALP level, so a school additional learning provision level. That's enabled us to start to develop that, as was our aspiration, in a way that is consistent with the principles of the new ALN legislation, in respect of shared responsibility for ALN and inclusion, and also in keeping with the evidence around best practice in terms of how ALN teaching assistants can be used in a way to maximise the outcomes for learners with additional learning needs. So alongside that, we've also we established the ALN Finance Working Group as a result of a recommendation from the Education Finance Task and Finish Group, and supported by Finance and Resources Overview and Scrutiny Committee again in November of last year. So that group's agreed purposes were to ensure that the local authority has the ability to act flexibly in response to changing need, and that will be informed as we move forward through this new statutory duty to review and report on additional learning provision, agree on more resilient and proactive funding models for additional learning provision, rather than reactive models dependent on a reactive way of submitting an agreement of business cases where need increases, and thirdly, ensuring that funding accurately reflects need. So we've been looking at applying an evidence-based banding model across additional learning provision, characterised by need rather than diagnoses, as it is currently. So to that end, the ALN Finance Working Group, which is made up of representatives from all education sectors, so primary, secondary, PRU, and special. They've been working on the funding required to meet what is now the current identified need in respect of ALN teaching assistants, because that has changed quite considerably again since the consultation started. So while we continue to gradually move towards this more evidence-based and flexible model of support, both in terms of the implementation in school, but also in line with the transfer of children from the existing SEN system to the new ALN system and individual development plans. They've been working on modelling a series of alternative funding formula, looked at ways of meeting the current funding shortfall in respect of allocated hours, and they have collectively concluded that an interim business case would be submitted for that funding shortfall for the next financial year. So as I alluded to then, the following 2 years now will involve the transfer of all pupils in receipt of TA support to the new ALN system in accordance with the Welsh Government's commencement orders. So they will move over in their mandated year groups either this academic year or next. And this gives us the opportunity, alongside the systemic change in respect of the county approach to evidence-based coordination of TA support, to make those changes on an individual individual pupil level as well. So those new plans are not needs led, they are aspiration and outcome focused, and there is a duty on us to ensure then that the provision within those to meet those aspirations and outcomes is clearly and carefully based on evidence base in terms of the interventions required to help achieve those intended outcomes. So in terms of the purpose of this report and the options for yourselves as members, it's purely an update report at this stage. So we are asking you only to note the content of the report, that we inform you of the progress made, but you're aware also of the work that's ongoing and the next steps in terms of how we review those service areas moving forward. And I think that's it, if that's okay.
Thank you very much, Catherine. It's really quite impressive. Very impressive. Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments? Councillor Gareth.
I'll be awkward and ask the awkward question. You mentioned an increase in budget, that you were working on a business case to increase the budget. Just wondered whether there was with moving forward, is there a filtering system to actually work out the number of budget increases and things with the focus on cutting budgets there seems to be at the moment? I'm just thinking of good use of time and everybody's under pressure and really busy. We should be careful about, it doesn't matter how justified it is, actually putting a lot of time and resource into requesting increased budgets.
Sorry, well, I was pausing. I wasn't sure if that was one for you to answer, Laurie, or do you want me to?
I think, thank you, Gareth. And I think that, the question that Councillor Paul shared with us earlier pertains to the same kind of reference. We have a business planning framework in place, which we as officers are guided by in terms of our work. And we are required to prioritise areas which need further resources in order to meet our statutory duties and our priorities. And we will continue to do that. We've identified an area of need. It's our professional opinion that if we reduce that area of need, we are putting the local authority at significant risk. And as we said yesterday, at great risk of not meeting our statutory duties. So we present members with the information, we present them with the detail, we present them with the figures and also the way in which we manage this risk. And that will be up then for discussion.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Anne, please.
Thanks, Chair. And thanks, Cathy, for a very comprehensive and detailed report and some real positive progress in a very, very important high priority area. My question, as I'm sure you probably will have perceived, would be is around the risk implications on page 168, and Gareth is alluded to it, and I completely understand what you're asking here. It's to fund something for which there is no current in-store budget, in-school budget provision. I think just as a bit of sort of review that's contained within your report, we transferred 100+ teaching assistants who are ALN and social inclusion into schools. The heads went in, but funding didn't, apart from grant funding that was passported over, I think. But there was a shortfall nonetheless. So there is actually a budget challenge for schools in the current year where there has been no funding and therefore they've incurred additional costs. I'm not sure that they really realised that would happen, but that's where we are. But my real concern is the business case that we're putting forward, and I understand the point Gareth's making. We are in unprecedented times in terms of financial crisis, in terms of schools, and indeed the council as a whole. But this business case, are we actually proposing that there is going to be complete cover within the business case for the costs that are being incurred within schools, as opposed to the current situation where there is a budget gap and sort of shortfall, and I do appreciate that whether the business case succeeds or fails is in the hands of democracy, and you've done a lot of work to put that together. So just a bit of clarity there that I seek. Thanks, Kathy.
Yes, so what we've done with the ALN Finance Working Group is we've looked at the current allocated hours. So the business case is calculated entirely on the hours that are currently allocated to pupils within Conway schools. So that additional business case to the funding that is currently delegated will cover the hours that are currently allocated either through a statement of SEN or School Action Plus contracts.
Yeah, and so will that cover, just to be clear, the contractual hours that schools are currently forced to comply with, yeah, under existing arrangements?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Councillor Anne. Thank you, Kathy. Do we have any further questions? Okay, so we have a recommendation, and the recommendation is that members receive the report, were informed of the progress made, and are now aware of the ongoing work that's being undertaken. Do I have a proposer for that? Thank you, Councillor Gwenel. Do I have a seconder? I've got Councillor Nia. So can we take a vote on that? I think that's unanimous. Have we got any against?
Sorry, Chair, I don't think is Councillor Nia a member of the committee? I don't think she is she?
Oh, I do apologise. There was another hand up. Councillor Dave had his hand up to second, so can we go with that? Dawn, do you want us to take the vote again, or are you happy that we
yeah,
voted?
just to be clear, please. Thank you.
Okay, so we take the vote again, please. I'm afraid, Nia, you can't vote on this one. Okay, still unanimous, as far as I can tell. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for attending today, and for all the officers that have given up your time as well. I'm